Good morning. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Happy Wellness Wednesday. I hope you are having a fabulous day already. And I've got a little bit on the lighter side today that maybe will help give you a couple of chuckles as you're getting your day started. If you are just stumbling on my page, my name is Donna. I am a mom, a nana, an activewear online boutique owner, driving myself crazy with finishing up grad school applications, and just so many other things. I am also, for the first time in my life ever, something I never thought I would be, which is a best-selling author. I am part of a book of 25 amazing ladies. There will be more on that to come. In any case, I love wellness. I'm a huge wellness advocate. I am going to be going to grad school to become a licensed mental health counselor. And I have been on my own personal wellness journey for most of my life. And I started Wellness Wednesday because I learned over time that sharing information really, really helps a lot of people. So I come on here and I share a little bit about whatever's on my mind on any given week, a topic that I think might be impactful. And I encourage you all to share your tips related to that topic with me. I like to keep it politic and negativity free. So if you ever have a topic you'd like to see me cover, as long as it's not one of those two things, please feel free to message me, drop a comment, whatever. I love to learn new things. So I'm happy to do a little bit of digging if you're not really sure where to start and see what I can learn on that topic and see if it's something that I can incorporate into a future Wellness Wednesday. All right, so let's get started. If you're here, let me know you're here so that I can say hi. And if you don't see this till afterwards, please feel free to drop a comment. Let me know you saw it. Let me know if it helped you. And as always, if you find it helpful, then please, I encourage you to share, shoot me a message, make a comment, whatever. Okay, so if you ask me questions or you say hi and I don't say anything, sometimes Facebook doesn't show me all of the things. So I may not see it. Sometimes I see little eyeballs when people are on. Sometimes I see comments or people's names pop up. Sometimes I don't see anything. And so far this morning, I'm not. So you're either not here yet or Facebook is playing a different game today. So let's get started. So today I have a little bit of a fun topic. And of course, there's a story behind how I picked this one, as usual. I mean, there almost always is, right? And it started with grocery pickup. So the first time I ever did grocery pickup was right around the time that the pandemic hit. And obviously it made sense at the time. A lot of people were doing grocery pickup because they didn't want to be in the stores or because the stores were restricting when you could come in or how many could come in. I know like Walmart and Publix, I think for the first hour they were open, it was restricted to senior citizens. I don't remember all the details, but I tried grocery pickup a couple times. I tried it once with Publix when Instacart was offering a free trial, which meant that I didn't have to pay anything for the grocery delivery. And I felt like a lazy person. There might have been other words that came behind that, but I just felt so guilty having someone deliver groceries to me. So the next time I used it was when Walmart started the curbside pickup during the pandemic, and Walmart doesn't charge for grocery pickup. So I did that for several times because it made sense at the time. It also made sense for my daughter who, as a single mom at the time, didn't really like taking her young child into Walmart, even after the pandemic was over, and found it much easier to do the online grocery shopping and then pick it up curbside, which made a lot of sense. A lot of busy moms, you're trying to wrangle your kids in the store. I can see, good morning, Miss Erica, where it would be much easier. But for me, it still didn't make sense because I was a perfectly capable woman that could walk into Walmart at any given point in time, pick up my groceries and go. And I just couldn't seem to get past that. I also found as I was going through the grocery pickup choices that sometimes items were a little higher priced. So for probably over a year, I didn't do grocery pickup. Well, as if you heard me when I got started, I'm finishing up grad school apps. I've got all kinds of things going on. I'm finishing up study for my personal trainer certification. There's a lot going on. I may not be working in an office anymore, but I am busier than I have ever been. And trying to get a grocery trip in around all of this has been difficult at best. Sometimes my boyfriend and I kind of make it a date night. We go grab subs and then we go to the grocery store. But a lot of times we're busy doing community things. There's just a lot going on. So lately, trying to get a grocery trip in has been difficult. So I finally gave in. Good morning, Miss Stacy. The other day, and I said, we need groceries, and I'm going to try the grocery pickup again. So I went through Walmart. I found all the things I've ever bought were still in there. I did notice that some of the prices were a little bit higher because I've been shopping in the store regularly. But here's what happened. Here's where the mind shift change happened. When you are busy, you probably, or should be, if you're not, put a bigger value, a bigger dollar value or emotional value on the time you spend. And in the time that I could have spent 10 minutes scrolling through Facebook, instead I spent 10 minutes scrolling through Walmart, put the things we needed the most in the cart. I'd kind of developed a little meal plan for the week, looked at our week, and I was done shopping in like 10 or 15 minutes, and they texted me. I went and picked it up. It cost nothing extra. I was a little nervous. I'm one of those hands-on people. I want to pick my own bananas. I want to pick my own lemons. Usually with produce, I'm kind of uber picky. So I was like, we'll see how this goes. I was a little skeptical, even though I've used the service before, because I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to get. The bananas might be too ripe. They might never get ripe. You know, I can overthink it to death, y'all. I can dissect it to a gnat's behind. But I went ahead and did it, and it was the best thing. It was the best choice I've made in a while. So why is that? Am I being lazy or am I being smart? Well, I'm being both, because even though I might be spending a tiny bit more on the grocery items themselves, the stuff that I was able to get done in the time that I would have been running around the grocery store, number one, the stuff I would have gotten done, was able to get done at home in the time I would have been running it around the grocery store was priceless. It was absolutely priceless. Number two, I lost my train of thought. It derailed. Good morning, Miss Dawn. Number two, I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel guilty because I know somebody else is getting paid to do that shopping for me. And that was not something I had looked at the first couple of times I had tried it. So that was huge. Here's the thing. A friend of mine used to say that if you want to get something done, you give it to the laziest person, not necessarily the busiest. Although you may find, if you look at it from that perspective, that sometimes they're the same people. And it's because the laziest one has probably found the most efficient way to do it. If you're truly using these kind of options to make your life better and more productive, then you're not being lazy. You are being smart. So I'm going to talk about a little bit about my hacks. That's the story that got me to this topic today. I'm going to talk a little bit about my hacks along with some others from my research, and why they're smart instead of lazy. And more importantly, why they may actually save you money, even if they initially cost more. So my personal conveniences, back to the grocery pickup and delivery. We've covered this for the most part, but bottom line, yes, the items may be a little bit more expensive on the online pickup, but when I factored in these two things, the time I would have spent, like I said, running around the grocery store, and number two, when you walk into a grocery store with a list, how often do you stick to that list? I know, based on what we ended up spending on that grocery pickup, I spent less than I would have if I'd walked into Walmart. Because not only would I have been running around trying to find all the things and do all the things, but I would have been like, oh, I might need this, and oh, look, this is on sale, and oh, I forgot about those, let's go get those. And I would have probably walked out of there for anywhere from $50 to $75 more than what I spent with the online grocery pickup. So that is a way that even if you're spending a little bit more money on the online pickup items, and I do see some price differences, although it depends on who you ask. I ended up spending less than I would have if I would have walked into that store. Plus, I saved time and got more things done at home when I was on deadlines and really tight on a time schedule. So that's pretty much it on the grocery pickup or delivery. If you want to pay for grocery delivery, that's totally okay too. That's totally your choice. I find that grocery pickup works for me, but there are some people that are kind of confined to the house that can't really get out, even though the pandemic is long gone. Or again, they've got a posse full of kids that they don't want to pile into the car. So paying that little bit of extra through Instacart membership or whatever to have groceries delivered makes a big difference. And when all these pickup and delivery options started because of the pandemic, or really took off because of the pandemic, there have been other benefits too. Like sometimes you can get things delivered if you're sick. That, if you don't have anybody else around to help take care of you and you're sick, you can have things delivered. You're not trying to drag yourself when you're feeling terrible out into a vehicle, into a store, spreading it to others, whatever. And you're getting the things you need, like the chicken noodle soup and all that stuff. So that's one of my personal conveniences that I'm probably going to be using more often now, even though I had gone, like I said, probably closer to 2 years without using the grocery pickup. It was like a whole different attitude toward it this week than what I had had in the past. And I didn't feel guilty, and it made sense to me. And my time was as valuable as the little bit of extra I might have spent. And I also recognized, good morning, Miss Carla. I also recognized that I probably spent less than I would have if I walked in there. Okay, so food pickup, same idea. If you're going to eat out, or if you're going to order takeout, just order the takeout. You can have food delivered now through DoorDash or Grubhub, although as I understand it, a lot of times the drivers don't get as much of that as you think you do. I'm not a big DoorDash or Grubhub person, but I do love, admittedly, on the occasion, which is maybe at the most once a week, maybe once every couple of weeks, that we eat Subway or Jersey Mike's, which just moved in down the street from us. I can order that through the app, run in there and grab it. It's already paid for. I don't have to stand in line. I can run in and grab it and bring it home. It literally takes like 10 minutes. It's awesome. Is that something I would do all the time? No, because often if we're going to eat out, we're just going to go to the restaurant and eat out. But on the rare occasion that we do take out, that is a perfect option. If you don't want to pay for delivery fees, and you still want to get out of the house, move around, walk, whatever, then these curbside pickups have really, or walking into the restaurant to pick up, have really been game changers for a lot of people. Now, as I said, a lot of times if my boyfriend and I want to go to the grocery store together, when he gets off work, we get done working, we'll stop at Jersey Mike's or Subway, grab something quick. Those are pretty much only the only fast food places we do on even a semi-regular basis. And then we'll go to the grocery store. That's kind of like our date night. We make jokes about it. But it can be very convenient to be able to just grab that food and go and not have to wait, place the order, and then wait around or whatever. You can call ahead. You can use an app. Tolls versus traffic. This is another one for me, especially since the new Parkway extension opened up. And all the crazy construction and nonsense that's been going on for like a lifetime, what seems like a lifetime on 19. If I have to go south, anywhere south in this county, I sometimes, because the extension of the Parkway is so close to me, I will pick it up and I will go. Other people that live in more populous areas where parkways and interchanges are an option, that don't want to spend the tolls, in my mind, what this looks like is tolls, especially if you have something like the SunPass where it saves you money on tolls, versus the time you may spend in traffic, sitting at idle, burning gas, screaming at people in front of you that aren't using turn signals. If you do that, I might have done that once or twice or 8 times in one trip. That brings you added stress, maybe makes you late for work or for your appointment or whatever. Sometimes that couple of bucks to hop on that parkway and go avoid all the 19 nonsense and get where you need to go a little bit faster is worth the couple extra dollars. Absolutely worth it. And I've done it more times than I ever expected that I would. So am I being lazy or am I being smart? Probably depends on what my day looks like, what my time schedule looks like, and where it is I need to go. Robot vacuums, and I even added lawnmowers onto this. Now, I have never had a robot lawnmower. I just found out recently that that's a thing that exists. But I can tell you that when I was living alone and with the Florida sun or the Florida rain in the summertime and the heat, trying to squeeze in lawn mowing. I loved mowing my lawn. I thought it was a great workout, but trying to squeeze in lawn mowing after a long day at work, a social event after work, networking event, whatever, and then to try to come home and squeeze that in after the sun started to drop, while the grass was dry, before it got too dark, was a challenge. And if I would have had a robot lawnmower, I would have been all over that. My yard would have been spick and span, beautifully trimmed all the time instead of just most of the time or half of the time. The robot vacuum. So the story here is that we had a cat that was kind of like pulling hair out of herself. And she has unfortunately since passed away. However, for a little while there, we were finding just cat hair everywhere. Good morning, Miss Denise. Like tufts of it, tumbleweeds, if you will, enough to make another small pet. And Eric would go nuts, grabbing the stick broom every time I turn around, cleaning up this hair. So I got to the point where I purchased a robot vacuum because I wanted to relieve him of some stress. Because if he saw it, he would just grab the stick broom and vacuum the whole house, and he would be stressed out about it the whole time. So I got the robot vacuum, affectionately known as Gary. You may have seen my post about the robot vacuum. I've done a TikTok video and a recent post about him because sometimes he's like having a toddler. Gary is named after the snail on the SpongeBob SquarePants show. Because if you've ever watched that show, then you know that Gary the snail frequently is also SpongeBob's house cleaner, and he goes around and sucks everything up. Good morning, Miss Jessica. So we named our robot vacuum Gary, and Gary has been fantastic as far as basic sweeping of the house, especially if you have pets and you can control where those pets are when that vacuum is running, because a lot of these robot vacuums, except for the highest end ones, they don't do well with water. Like if your dogs have water dripping everywhere when they drink, or maybe they occasionally accidentally go inside the house or whatever. Sometimes that is not a good scene with the robotic vacuums. But to help us relax about all the hair, Robo Shark, I love it. That's awesome, Jessica. But to help us relax about all the hair and stuff being tracked in and out, because we're in and out a lot. And now there's grandkids that are here sometimes, so they're in and out a lot. The robot vacuum has, without a doubt, I think I spent about $350 on it, without a doubt been the best, some of the best money I've ever spent. But if you have pets, if you have toddlers, be warned that a lot of them don't do well if there's wet landmines. We'll just leave it at that. Wet landmines, which could be cat hair balls, dogs making a mess, whatever the case may be, piles of poop. That's not a good scene. But it is a convenience that could be worth paying for depending on your household and how things operate. And the lawnmower, I'm not sure how it works. I didn't even know it was a thing. But if you struggle to mow your lawn, but you like to take care of that type of thing yourself and don't want to hire a lawn service, it might be worth looking into. I'm not sure if you really need to have a fenced yard for that or if it's got some kind of GPS, but it looks really cool. Might be worth checking out. Pedicures and manicures. Now, I am not one. Listen, y'all. Okay, let me just back up a minute. I suck at being a girl most of the time. I just recently, because of my collagen supplement, started growing fingernails that were long enough to do something with. But I'm hard on my hands. I use my fingernails as tools. I know I'm not supposed to do that. So for me, a pedicure is not, or a manicure is not generally the option. If I do put polish on, I suck at that too. So I use nail strips, nail polish strips, which to me are like the best invention ever. Because I would spend as much on nail polish, putting it on, screwing it up, taking it back off and doing it again, plus the time as way more actually than what I spend on the nail strips, and they are pretty awesome. But for me, the pedicure is where it's at. I have runner's calluses. I wear flip-flops and sandals as much as possible. So dry heels. Y'all know this drill. And the pedicure salon where I go can do more with my feet in that 1 hour than I could hope to do with my feet in a month. Plus, they can get my nails polished without animal hair or dust or anything like that. And I'm actually forced, see, you feel me, Jessica. I am actually forced to sit still for 1 hour, which is rare. And the best part about that is in that hour, I go to Citrus Hills Nails, Jessica. I really like them there. Very relaxed. I've been very happy since I started going there. I'm forced to relax. The massage chair is like the biggest benefit of a pedicure ever. Yes, it does cost me a little bit money, but I really only end up going about every 6 to 8 weeks, depending on what's going on, because I like my toenails cut short. So for me, it's worth every penny, including the tip, because I am helping someone else make money. I can sit there in the massage chair, get a little massage, oh goodness, Clearwater, that's too far. Are you taking the Parkway to save tolls or to save time instead of tolls? And I can, because I have the type of business that I can work from my phone, I can still be sitting there being productive, working my business while I'm getting it taken care of. Good morning, Gaston. So pedicure, manicure, depending on how you roll. If that's something you've been a little bit hesitant to treat yourself to, consider the time and cost of you doing it yourself versus that service somewhere else. Totally up to you, and everybody's different. That's why I'm throwing a lot of these things out here. Yes, listen to a good podcast or audiobook. Sometimes it doesn't hurt if we're forced to sit still for an hour. I'm just going to say that. I'm just going to throw it out there. Labels versus paper and tape. Okay, this is kind of a funny story that was going on around the same time as the grocery pickup. Sometimes I'm shipping things out of my home. My business does not require that I keep an inventory, but I do keep a small one, and sometimes I can help people out with an item that they can't find anywhere else. So, yes, exactly, Carla. If I cut my toenails myself, it just gets messy. I get it. That's why it's the pedicure. Even if you never get a manicure, the pedicure is amazing. So labels versus paper and tape. So all of this time, you know, I send some of my customers happy mail, goodies that they've won from time to time, whatever. I have been printing. Listen, there are times where I am about as cheap as they come. So I'm just printing labels on paper and I'm folding them up and I'm using packing tape to cover all the parts that aren't scan bars because they tell you not to cover those parts. And it hit me one day. I was doing a little resale stuff and it hit me one day. I'm like, the time that I'm spending and the paper that I'm spending, if I actually factored in the time that I'm spending folding and taping and making sure it's just right and using all the packaging tape and using all, why don't I just go buy the stinking labels and print them on those? You know, the stick-on ones that take 30 seconds. So I finally bit the bullet and I finally bought labels. And y'all, oh my gosh, I have wasted so much time folding and taping packages. So those are some of those little things that sometimes we start doing because that's what's available and that's what makes sense. And then we're like, oh, this is cheaper. I'm not going to bother with that. And then the time we spent on it and the cost of the supplies, we could have just bought the labels and made our lives so much easier. And exactly, Jessica, that's exactly the right way to say it. Work smarter, not harder. Okay, and then my last couple of favorite ones for me are, and then I'll just real quick run down a list of some others that I picked up on in my research. Last one for me, pre-cut fruits and veggies. The broccoli story. All right, how many of you have either seen the memes or have been guilty of posting the memes about buying the nice fresh produce so that it can sit in the refrigerator and rot? I'm just saying, raise your hand if you have seen that, done that, felt that, whatever. I love my fruits and veggies. I love to try to eat healthy as much as possible. I am a lazy cook. I will buy the things, they look great, and then I will fail to prep them, clean them, whatever. And they will sit there because then I will get busy and I will be looking for things that I can just grab quickly. Exactly. That I can just grab quickly. And so if they don't get prepped and cleaned, they don't get eaten 9 times out of 10. So I am that person that will go into Publix and buy the pre-cut fruit. I will buy the bagged pre-cut broccoli, and I will eat it. And yes, it's more expensive, but here's why. Because at the end of the day, if I buy the broccoli head, and I've done this twice in the last 2 months, y'all, just so I know what I'm talking about. If I look at the broccoli head and I go, it'd be so much cheaper, and all I have to do is chop those florets off and store them properly, and they'll be ready to go. I'm just going to buy the broccoli head. What do you think happens? I get busy. I get moved on to something else as soon as I bring the groceries home and get them in the refrigerator. And a week later, I'm like, oh, broccoli sounds good. I don't have time to cut that up. And the broccoli head sits there. And it sits there. And if you pick a good broccoli head and it's properly wrapped, it can actually last a really long time. But at some point, if you don't cut it up and eat it, it's going to sit there and rot. So am I really wasting money if I'm buying stuff that's already prepped, that's not got preservatives, it's not processed, it's just pre-cut? So I'm not buying processed packaged food, but I'm actually eating it. So if I'm actually eating it and I'm getting the nutrients and it's not sitting in the refrigerator rotting until I throw it away, am I spending more money or am I saving money? And doing myself a huge favor by making sure I'm grabbing things that I'm going to eat that are going to be nutritious and good for my body. So again, personal choice. It depends on what you've got going on. If you've got time and you can block into your schedule where you get home with the groceries and you prep all that out, absolutely. But I'm buying baby carrots instead of regular carrots because if I buy regular carrots, I am never going to peel them and cut them up. It's never going to happen. I'm just going to buy the baby carrots. They cost a little bit more, but they're actually going to get eaten and I can just grab them and go. So pre-cut vegetables and fruits. If you are finding yourself constantly throwing produce away, you're wasting the money anyway. So are you really wasting the money if you spend a little bit more, but you're actually consuming it? And then online shopping. Online shopping is a thorn in a lot of people's sides. Yes, there are some fantastic local businesses and I would rather support them and spend my money there any day of the week. But the truth of the matter is sometimes we can't get out to the stores. Sometimes we need things that the local businesses just don't carry. And so there's services like Amazon. We all love it. We all love to hate it, right? We can get things right at our door within 2 days. Clothing shopping, sometimes that's a little dicey. I know a lot of people don't like to pay for shipping, but when you have an awesome local consultant that can help you with returns, exchanges, etc., it's almost as simple as Amazon. So online shopping can be a fantastic convenience. If you can't find, I'm still going to always encourage shopping local whenever you can, or using a local rep if you're using something that's more of a nationwide company. But online shopping is a convenience that we are all going to have to use sooner or later if we haven't already. All right, so other ones real quick so that I can wrap this up because I know your time is valuable too. That's why we're talking about this. So here's some other things: fitness and food tracking apps and watches. These are ways that you can keep track. You know, I had to start logging my food a few years ago, and a friend of mine asked me to log it so she could take a look at it and see where I was struggling with my running. I spent 3 days writing by hand on paper everything I was eating. And then she went, oh, when I sent it to her, she goes, oh, well, there's an app for that. If you want to pay attention to what you're eating, what you're doing, your steps, your heart rate, whatever, there are so much technology and tools out there. So much technology and so many tools out there to make that easier. A lot of them are free. Obviously, a smartwatch isn't free, but there are some very affordable ones out there that can help track your steps, your heart rate, whatever. And there are some great apps. There used to be a lot more. The one I'm most familiar with is MyFitnessPal. If you're looking to track your calorie intake or your nutrients, that's a great place to do it. Some of the features they used to offer for free, they now offer as part of their premium paid service, which I'm not particularly thrilled about. but it is a great way if you're trying to be aware of what you're doing, calorie burn, things like that. Just remember that a lot of these things are not always 100% accurate. Don't live and die by them, but it's great guidelines if you're trying to keep track of that stuff. Laundry service for bulky items. We have comforters that don't fit in our washing machine. If you've been to a laundromat lately, the last time I went, I think it cost us like $10 to $15 to wash this comforter. Oh, Jessica, that's great information. I didn't know that. Thank you for that. Jessica says some insurances offer smartwatches for free to geriatric patients. So keep that in mind. That might be worth something worth checking into. So laundry service for bulky items. Eric and I have been telling each other we need to get to the laundromat with the comforters in the house for months. Okay, maybe not months, but we try to do it a few times a year. And then Eric's like, I just drove by a place the other day that said wash, dry, fold your comforter for $12. I'm like, where's it at? Let's go. Because who wants to hang around the laundromat for an hour spending possibly the same amount or more than they can spend for somebody else to do it? I'm not about to start taking all of my laundry to a laundry service. I'm not going to do that. I can do laundry here while I'm doing other things. That's not a bad use of my time. But going to the laundromat and sitting there spending $12 to $15 while we wait for the comforter to wash and fold, no, absolutely. If somebody's offering a decently priced wash, fold, dry fold service for a comforter, I am all over it. Cleaning service. Sometimes it's not as expensive as you might think. And if it frees up your time and more importantly, frees up your sanity to even just bring, hey, Jean, nice to see you. Even just bring somebody in like once a month to do some deep cleaning for you, or if that's physically stressful on your body, then it might be worth looking into. Movers. If you are at risk of injuring yourself, I've never hired a mover, ever. But I have to tell you, at this stage of my life, if I had to move, I might be very inclined to do so and let somebody else do the heavy lifting, because I am still a very healthy, vital woman, but let's face it, sometimes I throw my back out. And I'm also a very busy woman. Jessica, when I was a young mom, I used to pay somebody $1 a pound to have them. Wow, half price day. That's awesome. Hey, Miss Cindy. So if you are at risk of injury, or if you are extremely busy and it's turning your life topsy-turvy to do some of those things, it might be worth looking into hiring a mover. Or if you have a couple of teenage boys in the neighborhood that are looking to make extra dollars, that's a great option too. Rideshare / Uber versus car rentals or DUIs. This is kind of a no-brainer. Car rentals are very expensive right now. We're going to Salt Lake City in a few weeks. We have one day where we kind of want to get out and do something that might involve more than walking. And we can do a ride share or an Uber for the day versus a car rental, and it will be much more cost effective. So that's something to consider. And of course, it goes without saying that the cost of a DUI, if you've been drinking and shouldn't be driving, far, far outweighs the cost of an Uber or a taxi. Car repairs. This is another one. I'm a huge fan of doing what I can on my own vehicle whenever possible. I also drive older vehicles. If you can't buy the parts, but here's the thing to remember. If I haven't done it before, like I've changed the power steering pump before. So the learning curve isn't as big with that one. But if I haven't done it before, there's a huge learning curve there. So when you're looking at mechanical repairs, if it's something simple like changing a sensor, anything like that, it might be worth doing. But if it's going to take you 3 times as long because you don't know what, because you don't know what you're doing and you're using, and it doesn't mean you can't. It just means it might take you a lot longer. So factor that in when you're determining whether you want to do those repairs yourself or pay somebody else to do it. And then the last new convenience I want to talk about is ChatGPT. This is the AI, artificial intelligence option. Now, I don't even know if it's allowing for new accounts right now. I have used it a little bit. A lot of people have talked about using it for college, for high school, so I'm kind of torn on this. I have an ethical thing going on here. When I was in college, the big thing was no plagiarizing. You come up with your own words, and I believe that's very important. with that said, I'm 49. I'm trying to fill out college applications and do writing prompts. And it's been so long since I've done anything like that I'm looking at the writing prompt and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. So I have used ChatGPT, but only to give me a launch pad, because just simply using ChatGPT with that topic and giving me something to read, then I'm like, oh, duh, Donna, you can do this. And then I'm writing it in my own words and I'm not actually copying and pasting what ChatGPT is giving me. Now, with that said, if you need to write a quick letter and you're just not sure how to format it, where to start, whatever, that is something that ChatGPT could be very handy for. I know that I have a friend who is dyslexic and thinks that ChatGPT is the greatest thing since sliced bread, because it's going to give them less errors in the things they do, because of the learning disability that they struggle with. So there's a lot of different feelings out there about AI. I would just say use it wisely if you're going to use something like that. And plagiarism is still plagiarism. Just remember that. And then finally, and I'm almost done, and I know this was a long one. I didn't expect it to be so long, but let's face it, when there's fun stories to tell around it, it's more fun, right? And when you guys talk and share and ask questions, that's more fun too. So when convenience is ugly, if your conveniences are costing you your health, such as too much fast food, prepackaged, processed food, or less movement, step exercise because you're having it delivered instead of maybe going to the restaurant and walking in and picking it up, or whatever the case may be, or it's less interpersonal time. So there's a possibility that it's that whatever your conveniences are, like too much time on your phone, are costing you time with your family and loved ones. That's when convenience is ugly. And that's when you're probably paying way more than just the extra you're paying for the convenience. You're paying way more long-term in those damaged relationships, or less meaningful relationships, with the less movement and exercise and the unhealthy eating. So keep that in mind. And remember, quite simply, the whole point of this is, if your time is valuable to you, and it's spread, and especially if it's spread thin, it needs to be factored in when you compare costs of things. When you compare the cost of doing something yourself or buying the pre-cut vegetables versus the other options, you need to factor in the value of your time. Because if it only costs you a little bit more, but it frees up time that allows you to do so much more with your family, for yourself, to relieve stress or whatever, it may be worth it. Plain and simple, this is often a mindset issue. We don't want to spend that money on ourselves, but if it saves us a huge amount of time and sanity, exactly. Time is money. You either pay with money or you pay with time. If it's saving you a huge amount of time and sanity, then sometimes it's just worth it. And it's okay to spend that little bit of extra because of what it may save you later. So choose your conveniences judiciously, y'all. But for those who are extremely busy or at risk of getting hurt when trying to do specific things, again, the extra cost now can far outweigh the potential cost later. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you had a little bit of fun with me this morning. I sure did have a lot of fun with you guys. Thank you so much for your input, those of you that commented. And if you found this helpful, please share, make a comment, whatever. And as always, feel free to send me suggestions for future topics. Just no politics, no negativity. We like to be happy and well here, right? So have a fabulous Wednesday and be well, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.